So, our next talk, entitled Creating any User Interface in Shiny, the importance of CSS in shaping Shiny app user interfaces, it's presented by Cassio Felix. And Cassio is a data analyst and data visualization specialist with over 7 years of experience. And he has advanced skills in data analysis, statistical and econometric modeling, and statistical analysis using R and SQL. Also, he has data visualization using R Shiny package. His background is Master in Economics by the Federal University of Minas Gerais, and specialization in Big Data applied to football from the University of Murcia. Currently, he is responsible for app, dark footer, and web app R Shiny development at Lumen Saúde Mental Health, a startup company. So thank you for being here, Cassio, and the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. My name is Cassio, and I'm from Brazil. And I'm here today to talk about the process that I like to follow to create my user interface in Shiny for the last few years. I think the main message that I would like to send here is to when we create a user interface and we want to replicate beautiful user interfaces, this is really possible. And if we follow some process, some method, some framework that we can develop ourselves, this can be much more possible and real to replicate and create a user interface like this one that I'm presenting to you now. But how I like to follow the process of creating user interface. For example, I will use this user interface as an example, but the idea is the same for any user interface, to specify the steps that we are going to follow, and then respect all of these steps in output terms. So 3 steps that are really direct and simple. The first one that I like to follow is to simply visualize, visualizing the columns and rows of my dashboard. And the second step is to adding the widgets on the screen and other elements such as HTML elements, card elements, images, and etc. After doing the first step, this is going to be very useful to organize on the screen these elements that we are going to add on the second step. And the third step is to add the chart and fix the last CSS layout problems that we are going to face. So what I mean when I say I like to define visually the number of columns and rows, it's just simply using the drawing on the screen, vertical and horizontal lines. And once we do this, we can see as an output small blocks and bigger blocks in general. And the idea is once we keep developing and creating our user interface, we now can define and identify all the box. And if we have any problems in the future, we know where we can point and work to fix any slide, any layout problem that we can face. And the idea here to do this and to communicate this idea of defining visually the number of columns and rows with the Shiny and R code is using the Imola package. Imola package is basically a wrapper for 2 key features of CSS language called CSS Flexbox and CSS Grid. To summarize here, these 2 key features of CSS language are responsible to organize all the elements of our user interface, web apps, and websites that we are seeing on the internet nowadays. They are very powerful and help us to organize these elements on the screen. And when we have Imola as a package to help us organize all these elements. This make our job very, very easy and fast when connecting the idea of defining visually the number of grids, the number of columns and rows to the code. So what I mean about that, when I define the numbers of columns and rows, I can draw in terms of code here with the R code in Shiny. There are important arguments for this that this package delivers, and it's very similar to Shiny package. We start with a grid page function, and we define some important arguments. The main important arguments for me are the rows and columns arguments that define the size of our columns and rows. And as you can see, we can use pixel and other arguments to set the size of our columns and rows. But the main important argument for this moment is the areas argument. Once we define visually the columns and rows of our user interface, we have some box that we can see on the screen. And everything that we are going to work for the future when we are creating this user interface will be inside all this box that we create here. So here we can see that I can draw on this default argument that belongs to areas argument of this function, and we can localize all the box that will be part of this dashboard. And then once we define these areas of the header, we have to show these elements that we define here. And in other words, we are going to add this element using HTML elements. But Imola makes a great help for us because it's already defined in terms of box inside the code, and we only need to create these headers adding the HTML elements called div. And once we are creating all these box that we are going in the future add the widgets and charts, we can only add the div elements respecting the argument class. So once we define here the arguments and drawing all the box that will be part of our dashboard, we come to the another part of the code and add the div elements. So and now at this first step, we can have an output in terms of code like this. And when we set this part of code in the left here, we are not going to change at all. This is the final output that I like to imagine of the first step. And we only going to add all these div elements. And in the future, in the next steps, we are going to work with inside these elements of divs, for example. So anytime if I want to add a chart, I know where I'm going to adding all these charts and elements, and that's where the second step is important on this process. So in the second step, I like to add the widgets and elements that my dashboard missed. So now I'm going to add the file input widget, and I'm going to create a card that will represent some numerical information about the data. But the main idea here is on the second step is to know that once I add all the widgets, I can have some crashes on the layout of my UI. So the second step presents this idea of, okay, I'm going to add the widgets where I know where they all belong, but how I'm going to fix this? So I separate these fixing issues on the second step. And then we can, using some CSS properties to fix this. In the most part of my time on the second step, I can use important properties from CSS. Is related to padding and margin steps. And this is basically the fix issues that I like to use make the second step done. So aligning elements in the screen, I can use specific properties from CSS called display block, for example. So to summarize, this second step is about this, adding widgets and elements and fixing margin and paddings properties with CSS. And I add the space for the charts, and in the end, the last step, I like to add the charts and fixing the last issues related to this dashboard. And this last part is very important because I'm going to deal with charts and some server functions. And the problems that I face lately is just to avoid trying to add width and height inside the code of charts. I try to avoid to set width and height inside the ggplot functions, the high chart functions, for example, because the charts itself adjusts itself on the screen. And I don't like to do this because the responsibility of the UI organize the charts for me. So this is the main pain points to be careful when we are going to set some process to create user interface. I like to break this problem into pieces, and I know where the problems that appears, and I know where to solve into the code, and it's not a big problem for me. So to summarize, this is the main idea, and all of these dashboards that I replicated, that I recreate, are on my GitHub. Let me know if I can be helpful for all of you. And that's it. I think it's very important to have a process to follow, and this makes us deliver quick user interface in our job, in our work. And that's it.
So thank you very much, Casio. And one quick question from Jackson Bolos is if you can define areas like that in a fluid page.
Yes, but you are going to use a CSS file for do this, and it's not belongs to a Shiny package, this idea of drawing the areas.
Okay, so thanks again for your presentation.